students have read it. What is the most useless piece of information that you've been taught at school? I once spent a whole 5 hours lesson learning to delete a file folder and create a file folder on Windows 7 during a trade school course I paid $25k to go to. If you work hard now, you can relax for the next 40 years. The tongue map. It's false. And they still teach it after more than 20 years. I got taught about the bystander effect by the story of Kitty Genovese. Long story short, she got assaulted and stabbed. Droves of people saw and nobody did anything. Conclusion. Bystander effect. It was only later that I learned much about it was plain wrong. There was at least one call to the police. Someone came out to help the victim. A lot less people saw it happen than what the media portrayed etc etc. Really, a lot of those building stones of psychology are probably way less clear cut than they are portrayed in first year psychology textbooks. Every year I was taught that teachers next year will only take work in cursive. Badgers will bite your legs until they hear a crack. So put pine cones in your boots. I was told this almost every time we had a field trip to the woods. I was convinced badgers would be a constant danger my whole life. To this day, I've only ever seen a single badger and he kept his distance. You'll write all of your college papers in MLA format, so learn it and learn it well. Get to college and it's APA format or GTFO. Recently I was in college calculus class. My instructor, math PhD student, looked at a lesson. He said, "You will never use this, but I'm required to teach it, so we will do the homework in class and I will make sure it's not on the test. If you ignore the bullies, they'll leave you alone." They only left my brother and I alone when I stuck my thumb in one of their eye sockets. Good thing I learned though, always help the dinner lady who's cleaning up the dinner trays. They'll save you the good stuff. I learned in high school that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's not even correct. Everyone knows it was android 17 and 18 that were the powerhouse of cell. How to read the trigonometry table booklet. We even have a contest on who's the fastest to spot the answer : How to write in cursive. My class had hours of lessons through a few weeks of school. It slowed down my writing so much and I just ditched it, realizing how little people actually care about it. How to play hot cross buns on the recorder. Homework should be an easy, non-stress inducing task. Yeah, ducking right. Middle school. With the French teacher. The only thing I actually learned from her was that when she was a kid she took chocolate in foil from the butcher and that she liked the houses of Venice at night. That there were no bananas in East Germany. Nutrition. When I started elementary school it was the 4 food groups. By high school it was the food pyramid. And by college it was MyPlate. They have absolutely no idea about nutritional guidelines. They constantly change them and can't make up their minds. It's way too dizzying to try to keep up. Who knows what it'll become next. Came expecting to see mitochondria meme and people itching about not taking life science courses. Was not disappointed. It doesn't matter what career you choose. The useless things to learn is the date of birth of historical characters. What are flying buttresses? Donocits speak English here, but now this word is stuck with me forever. I got taught that blood is actually blue. I also got taught that the tongue tastes specific things on different parts of it. Duck you. Itty teachers. Stupid English lit quotes. Several books. 18 poems. 2.5 hour exams to test whether I could learn what you egg. In Ray class in high school we no joke spent multiple lessons talking about cult secret societies as part of the curriculum. You have to wear a uniform to prepare you for real life and work. You need to learn this information. It's important and will be useful in later life. No, it ducking won't. What award someone would win if they won in a certain book genre, like WTF school. Every year the teachers like to put the idea in our head that we are behaving horribly and next year you'll be a grade instant, literally any grade, and you teachers won't be a lenient. Turns out that's a lie, and as you get older, if you don't mature enough to stop pulling bullet in class, the teacher will literally either ignore you, joke with you, or kick you out because it's high school and you aren't their kid. Not scream at you like all our teachers did when we were younger. My sister was taught how to release sheeps from barn in case of emergency. I'm a firm believer that a good general knowledge makes you a better person, and that schools shouldn't be factories producing corporate slaves. But goddamn, I've never used any of the physics, chemistry or biology in my career, and I remember how hard it sucked having to learn all of it. That Columbus was a hero who discovered America. Granted, this was 23 years ago, but still. Cursive. Was told that we would use it for the rest of our lives, until they shelved the subject way through elementary school. Kinda subjective, but for its and giggles, my immediate reaction was all the theology classes my first university forced into us. I'm here to learn about accounting. Stop making me learn the history of Corinthians. Oh my ducking lord. The day we left school for COVID, I had a class in handshakes. Ducking handshakes. Apparently, because giving a good handshake was respectable, we were shown a PowerPoint on how to do it and were given homework to practice it on others because we couldn't practice it among ourselves. All of this was of course in the height of the pandemic, and obviously, no handshakes are allowed. WTF school. Why can't I show working out in a way I know how to bloody work out? I took an auto shop class my senior year. Teacher was awesome. Class was awesome. Would have been my top 3 if I picked favorites for school subjects. Then like 3/5 in the school year he had to leave because of a back injury from a prior thing. Our sub the rest of the year was terrible. We basically just sat and either reviewed what we already learned or just watched some random video on how to fix something. Which again, was review. Advanced mathematics. Honesty, if you do not study math or something that uses a lot of math directly after school and university, you will likely never use it again, or at least have to look it up again anyway. Granted, if number 2 is you, it's easier to relearn than to learn. But I think the majority of people will fall into group 1, including me. Math. All the high school math I learned was pretty much useless and I had to relearn everything in university. I'm aware you can't really teach some of these subjects to high schoolers. But then high school math should teach problem solving and not half memorizing incomplete algorithms. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. In first grade we had to learn how to type on a flip phone, on a dial pad instead of a QWERTY layout. My teacher said you'll need to know this to use a cell phone and made us spend a whole day learning it. The first cell phone I got was 7th grade, was a smartphone with a touch screen. Henry VIII had 6 wives. I don't need to know that. How to cite sources by hand. There are tons of websites where you can do it for free. Also, a year after we learned to do it by hand, they made us learn how to use this online program that did it for us anyway. That a college degree will lead to a good career. Square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle is equal into the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. I will consider my life a failure if I don't use this once in practice. The ducking homework. I mean, we already work for like 7 hours a day, so what is the point? And having more than 1 piece of homework per subject per week is BS. Algebra and geometry are worthless when taught outside of the context of real life. You could teach kids how to use math in their everyday life. When you present kids with pure math that doesn't solve any real life problems, it makes it seem like there is no use for this besides being a math teacher, and it destroys any interest or motivation to learn. Sex. I haven't used it at all. Maths to calc the height of a tree. Never took notice then and never had to measure one in 45 years. Although climbed a few. If I really wanted to know, I'd hire the local squirrels to drag a tape measure up there. That George Washington had wooden teeth. Actually, he had teeth from slaves. And apparently it was important that he chopped down a cherry tree. Memorizing everything from the literature book. Everything. Poems, stories, summaries, answers of questions in the books, and so on. FFS. How are these supposed to help in life? The nucleus is the brain of the cell. That the teachers in the next grade only accepted work in cursive. And my personal favorite. That if you don't memorize the reciprocals of fractions by 6th grade, it's the end of the world. Edit. Also about how Columbus discovered America. They lied to us. Might not count. But fat gym teachers just make nobody care. That America is the best country for everything. It's not even accurate, it's just not the worst. The format of an informal letter. Why? Just why? Apparently the whole internet weighs close to an average strawberry. My computer science teacher had some episodes lol. Deoxygenated blood is blue. Just ducking lies. Essay competitions where you write mind-numbingly stupid essays in less than an hour. America is the best country at everything. My math teacher always said, in the future you will not be able to carry a calculator with you everywhere. HAHA. The fact that only one part of your tongue only tastes spice, or salt, or sour, thing. It's not true. Skinny people have big D's. I don't though, and I define as a stick figure. And yes, school taught me this. We had this thing once a year where a student could teach the math class. A perv got it. Back in the day we had to learn the Pledge of Allegiance. I was told repeatedly that no one would have a calculator in their possession at all times. Not quite in the spirit of ARP's question, but the first thing that came to mind. Boy oh boy, one of my middle school teachers, had him for multiple classes over 2 years, made us do the most useless stupid things. Some things we learned from him include juggling, ambidextrous cursive writing, Rube Goldberg machines, and obscure facts about DW40. Many afternoons were just spent on Sporkle. In 2012, it was the 100th anniversary of the Titanic, so we spent the entire month of April learning about the Titanic, and had to submit a diary from a real fictional person on the ship. After we handed them in, he said, "Wow, I'm disappointed none of you wrote from the perspective of the boat itself." One time we had a practice lockdown. For those who don't know, we hide from view of the classroom doors, turn off the lights, close the blinds, and wait for the all clear from the school's VP. And he told everyone in the first 2 rows of desks to hide behind the lab tables at the back of the class, as you're supposed to do. But everyone in the back 2 rows of seats, myself included, could stay where they were. Of course, when the VP came in, we were told off for not hiding properly, and our teacher let us take the blame. The kicker was at the end of grade 8, when the science teachers prepared a mock science exam to prepare us for high school. The day before the exam, this guy said, "Okay, take out your papers. This is a list of everything I didn't teach you this year." He essentially just ran through most of the year's curriculum in about half an hour, and I definitely failed that mock exam. You know, if you turn in a paper to a professor with sloppy handwriting like that, they'll throw it right in the trash. They won't even bother reading it. Got to college and not a single duck-in professor complained. Cursive was pretty worthless. I'm a senior in college this semester. I've never used it. I've never had to read it. It's only been relevant for my own signature. People give a shit about who you are and where you're going. I would actually say probably the entire second semester of both biology and chemistry. Any useful life knowledge was imparted in the first half of both classes, and the second half was delving to a detail that really didn't matter. I always thought those should be 1 semester classes to free up space for ones more applicable to the real world. Just Pluto. I grew up knowing that it isn't a planet, and then, in 6th grade, 11 years old, 2017, my teacher said that they changed the definition and now Pluto was back to being a planet. My science teacher in grade school made us memorize and identify different rocks and frog calls. That as a girl you have to cover up this and that and follow the dress code BC, otherwise your clothes will be a utter distraction, so I guess it's abnormal to go out in public and see girls wear the same thing they would typically wear at school without the damn dress code. I mean, seriously. Not a student and not in school, but I've learned that I can reply to these posts by prefacing my comment with not a but. How many watermelons Johnny bought? How to balance a checkbook. I've written checks, but have never had to balance it. Everything is electronic now. If you work hard enough in school, you can become anything. I never understood this because you can't become anything if you just go to school. Not a lot comes from 12 years of suffering. Understand that it can do a lot, but you can't become anything. Walt Disney survives the Spanish flu. I kid you not. We learnt about the Spanish flu in history, and the teacher just had to say that. It's useless but kinda fascinating. Sex is bad. Minimal information on how to have sappho-6 or contraceptives. They just preach ed6 equals bad. How to draw a still life thing. Your blood is blue and become red once it touch the air. There is different parts on your tongue to taste different things. Mahjong and Minesweeper. Minesweeper is cool though. How to calculate how much salt is absorbed by a potato if you put a potato in a salt bath. Learning how to type in the damn 7th grade. WTF. Every year we have the same talk about cyberbullying, sexting, grooming etc. The worst part is that they put the same videos and use the same PowerPoints every time. What a ducking onion cell looks like under a microscope. I hate that lab. A computer science professor I had freshman year of college was in the middle of a terrible lesson when he said, now you may not know this, but you can actually rename files in your computer. Honestly, health class sex ed. A lot of the things taught in the class were complete bullet, especially when it came to pregnancy. You have 24-ish hours once a month to fertilize an egg. On average you ovulate 2 weeks after your period. You have a short window that you're fertile and that gives you a 20% chance of conceiving if you get your timing right. And no, you can't get ducking pregnant on your period. Your uterus is shedding the entire lining with a dead egg. And sex ed made it seem that if you get a tiny bit of pre-cum you can get pregnant. Pre-cum rarely contains live sperm cells. One time in geography my teacher got bored, so he talked about how he used to work in a vet clinic and he told us in detail how to clean a dog's asshole. Rest in peace Mark and Rut. I spent most of my life struggling with any math beyond very basic algebra. I never really got it and math was the only subject I struggled with in college and is why I graduated with a 3.5 GPA instead of a 4.0. I work in finance. Every day I crunch numbers and analyze huge amounts of data that involves real money, calculated future money and time. And I rely on zero math that I was taught post middle school. I certainly rely on 2 semesters of Excel classes I took though. And the kicker is that if I could do everything in my head and then write it out and not know how to do it on Excel, I would not have a job. Whenever I say that teaching advanced math skills in school is sort of a waste of time and resources, I usually get downvoted for it. But the truth is that yes, math skills are absolutely crucial to human development, but for most people, especially people like me who struggle with understanding mathematic concepts, it's probably much better to teach them skills in things like how to use calculators or software to get math results. Probably languages that I don't want to learn but I have to, even though my teacher says it. WLG at you a go odd job, even though I don't want a job that has anything to do with a language. Revising from textbooks is bad. Never revise for more than an hour at a time is detrimental. Insert literally anything from English Lit and English Lang, it says here. The whole human evolution in a linear scale from monkey to slightly standing to finally standing. Take any basic anthropology class and you will realize how terribly false this is. Yet it's one of the most commonly pushed pictures in education. It's even the first result when you Google evolution.